My name is Wilma Joan Cunningham Campy. I'm the oldest of Virginia and Tyree. And remembering my father, Tyree, he left the farm when he was 14, and in order to get a job, he had to tell them he was 18. And it was fine his entire career at the Union Station until he wanted to retire. And then at 65, he had to really go back and prove that he was really 65, so they'd let him retire. My father was the kind of man who if you didn't have something nice to say about someone, you don't say it. And he always had a smile on his face, and I can remember him coming into the kitchen, and he liked to tap dance. He'd tap dance on the kitchen floor. Always a positive person. That's what I remember the most about him. And he never gave me any advice that wasn't absolutely right on the mark. He never ill-advised me, and I always knew that if I went to him and it didn't matter what it was, his logic was always just absolutely right on target. I guess I remember that most about him, and he was a very loving, caring man. My early memories of my mother was how beautiful she was, and there are wonderful old pictures which I'm sure you'll see on this video in her younger days. And she loved to sing as well. She was a member of the choir at church, and most of her adult life, all of her life, church to her has been important to her. My grandmother lived with us, and she lived with us all our life. She would take trips and come to California from Maryland, which is where we lived, because she had another daughter here who lived in San Diego, as a matter of fact. Mickey lived here. And she would go away for the summers, and I remember her sending postcards back and thinking how beautiful the plants and the foliage and the flowers were here in California. My father had special assignment to Eisenhower during the war. He came back to Washington, D.C. on a secret mission. I think he was assigned to Germany. And he came back and no one knew that he was here, and so he lived in a very nice train, which a lot of people did. They traveled the track and had their own trains, but he lived on this track while he was here in Washington having secret meetings. And my father was assigned to him at that time, and they became good friends. Eisenhower would not let my father stand outside of the train, wanted him to come in with him. And so they got to be friends. And then we were invited to the White House because of the developed friendship that he had with Eisenhower. And it was right after that secret meeting when he came back during the war that D-Day happened. So it all must have been interconnected somehow. There were other assignments that my father wouldn't talk about. I guess they were secret, so we don't really know what happened. There were other things he used to do. Elvis came to Washington, D.C., Elvis Presley, and he also had a private train, and my father was assigned to that train as well, and he got autographed pictures of Elvis for all three of his daughters, which I have no idea whatever happened to. Mamie had an inner ear problem, which she didn't like to fly. And she used to say that she really liked the fact that the Secret Service people were around her all the time because she would lose her balance very readily. And people used to say that she drank and that she was an alcoholic, which wasn't true at all. So every time that she would travel, she'd always go by train, and the generals from the White House would call to make sure my father was on duty when she came, so that he could meet her limousine when it got to Union Station. So they developed a friendship as well, aside from the one he had with Ike. And I remember very well that trip to the White House that my mother spoke about. We were on Easter vacation, and I remember all of us had new Easter clothes, which we always did every Easter. We'd go to church with new clothes for Easter, and I remember having those new clothes when we went to the White House on that Monday when it was closed to the public. That was exciting. I remember going back to school and telling everybody what had happened, and they said, "Oh yeah, sure you did." So nobody believed me, but I can talk about it now. No one says that. There are advantages to getting older. People believe you when you say something. When I was little, my mother used to tell this story about me. I was about 2 or 3, I guess, and I'd go to the front door, and anybody who would walk by, I would wave, and if they didn't wave back, I'd get my feelings hurt. And so I would always say hello to everybody, and she tells that story a lot about me. I have married twice. My first husband and I had one child, Lisa Marie. She's married and she now has 2 daughters, Brianna and Marissa. They're now 10 and 12, growing up quickly, living in South Carolina.